Please welcome to the show, Noel Gallagher. Welcome.
Thank you.
So do you remember the election night? The night it all happened?
Brexit.
Brexit, yeah.
I was in the studio the day of the vote, and there was a voting station across the road from the studio, and I thought, I can't be bothered going to vote because who'd vote to leave, right?
Wow.
So we were all told that we would stay by a landslide, so we just carried on working. Kind of went home, and I went to bed at about 11, and everyone said we were going to stay, and that was it, and it was great. And I woke up the next morning, and the world had changed, and we've been in a mess ever since.
You come from a very different background than the Johnsons.
Yes.
You came, yeah, well, most people did, but did you...
That's not her fault, though.
That's not her fault. But do you have, I mean, having growing up in a very poor environment, do you have an understanding of why it happened?
At the time when the referendum was called, I was asked about it, and I said that there shouldn't be a referendum because I don't think that 99% of the people were qualified enough to understand what was going on. And watching the debates ever since in Houses of Parliament, not even the people who are qualified to understand what's going on. But saying that, now we have voted to leave. By hook or by crook, we have to leave, because if we don't, we're not a democracy, and if we're not a democracy, we cannot pontificate to the rest of the world about democracy. So we have to leave now and make the best of it. But I hope in my heart of hearts one day we'll go back in.
Did the question split your family as well? You never got that one, did you?
My family was pretty split on other things. My immediate family, I've got young children. Me and my wife, no, I would have voted. I mean, if it was a vote again tomorrow, I'd vote to stay.
Can I just ask you a question like that? Okay, given that the margin was quite slim, and it's been 3.5 years, right? Think of all the 16 to 18, the young people who could vote now, and think of the majority that has probably gone to their happy hunting grounds. So actually, there may be a majority in this country to stay in, but you think that still we have to observe...
Well, I can't... I hate this term, the people's vote. I've already had that.
Okay,
and for better or for worse, the people have spoken.
Yeah.
They can't have referendums, legal referendums with the legal vote, and then say, but actually, we don't like how you voted, so we're going to have another one. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah.
So I take it you don't want to leave the EU if it was up to you, but you did 10 years ago. You left the Oasis.
Yes. Yeah.
And and it is 10 years ago to this fall, and it was very abruptly.
Yeah.
And some said it was brave, some said it was stupid. What's your thoughts when you think back on that moment?
I didn't think it was brave or stupid. It was just inevitable that it was going to happen. And you get to a certain point in your life. I was 42 at the time, and still really, if you're in a job that's making you unhappy at that stage in your life, you just got to think, well, there's no point. I mean, surely the pursuit of happiness is everybody's right. Do you know what I mean? And the way that it's been rewritten by the other fella is like,
You mean your brother, Liam?
The other fella, yeah. All I did was leave a band. That's all I did. Yeah. I didn't kill anybody yet. And to some people, it's the end of the world. It's the end. The people will not still accept it. I get asked about it.
That's because they like Oasis.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. And they've got the music and they've got the memories if they ever came to see us and all that.
But it was. I mean, it was an emotional thing. It wasn't thought through, was it?
Well, it was thought through very briefly in the back of a car. Yeah, it was sitting outside. Look, it was sitting outside a festival that we were headlining. There was about 70,000 people there, and there was a huge fight in the dressing room. And I sat in the back of a car, and I calmed down. And my security guard said, "Are we staying or going?" And I'd been on the verge of leaving a couple of times before, and I just thought, tonight's the night. And the worst thing was leaving the people in the gig. I'd never pulled a gig on purpose in my life, but it was meant to be, you know, and I've got no regrets at all.
So, from there, when was the next time you heard from your brother? Did he try to call you desperately?
The next time I heard from him was I got a legal letter from his lawyers that he kindly managed to give to the Daily Mirror the day before he sent it to me. So it was on the front page of the newspapers. And if you can believe this, he was going to sue me for libel, for ruining his character.
For ruining his character?
Something like slander, whatever. I don't know what the legal term is. You know.
So who would you, if you had to choose, who would you prefer to have as your brother today? Liam or Boris Johnson?
Wow. That's an amazing question. Then you can ask me.
You can have the same question afterwards.
I'd say Boris is more entertaining. His use of the English language is far superior. Liam's better looking though.
Yes, isn't it?
So I don't know. I probably wouldn't get on with either.
Haircut-wise, I think Liam is.
She's got magnificent hair.
She's got
magnificent hair.
Yeah, I know.
You've got wonderful hair too.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yeah. We were watching the panel show on Sky, me and my wife, recently.
What, the one I do?
And we both said, she's got fucking great hair.
No. Thank you.
What's the thing with Boris here?
What about it?
He's got an interesting haircut. It's like
I
it's
can't
not
see
slick.
that. It's fine. I don't think it's you can't shape it or anything.
No, it's not as thick.
It's a different texture.
Tell me, do you when you look back at those years before the breakup with Oasis, do you think about things you didn't appreciate enough?
I don't regret a single day being in that band because I always had the work. I often used to feel sorry for the other guys in the band because I was the sole writer and I always had the work to keep me grounded. But it actually kept me sane, in a way, you know, because I was busy working, you know, directing it and all that. But I don't regret anything. There's some things that I said about other people that I wish I hadn't said, and there's some things that I did that I wish I hadn't did. But if I could go back and live it all again, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
From the outside, it looks like you are cool as a cucumber compared to your brother. And I wonder, today you have 3 kids?
It actually annoys him more than you could imagine.
The fact that,
that
people think that, or the fact that you are that?
The fact that I am that, yeah.
Because that can be irritating.
No, but you know, like when you're arguing with someone, when you're angry and the other person is just like, whatever. I mean, it's infuriating. Right?
Of course.
Which is why he's so angry, because every time he sends out a tweet, I'm just like, I don't even know what he's going on about half the time.
Of course, it's super irritating, I guess.
Do you know, for me, it's not, I don't care. For me, he's kind of taken this, he insults my wife a lot. He's floated this idea that a lot of morons on the internet have adopted this idea that Oasis would be getting back together, but my wife won't let me. So there's this fear that I'm at the kitchen table saying, oh, please, can I get back with Oasis? And my wife's going, no, no. And I'm like, please, 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 no. But the thing is, because like most of the people who surf the internet are morons, unfortunately, present company excluded, of course, unfortunately, that's now become like this thing, you know what I mean? And my wife gets a lot of abuse, which is not fair because it's got nothing to do with her at all. And he threatens my kids and all that kind of thing, and it all gets a bit stupid. But I would say he'd grow up one day, but he's 48 now.
Yeah, so he has a little time left, probably, to grow up.
He might do it in his 50s, maybe.
It should be said, he's not here to defend himself tonight.
No, but
that
when
he'd
be watching this now and furiously tweeting
exactly
about my wife.
How, as a father of 3, how do you, with that cool attitude, deal with the tantrum? Because all kids have tantrums.
Yeah, well, when my kids have tantrums, I find them hilarious.
That's
You know,
even worse,
just laugh. You know, when they're kind of like trying to hit you, like a 7-year-old trying to hit you, and you're just like, what are you doing? But the best way, well, they say the best way to, you know, naughty children is just to ignore them. You know, but I mean, I do because I'm not on social media, but it's difficult sometimes. Do you know what I mean? And it has caused a lot of not upset, but there's been a lot of things that have been said that are just like, you're not going to be able to take that back. Do you know what I mean? And I was born with one fatal flaw in my character, which is I will not forgive people. I can't do it. There's something in me that just, I haven't got any forgiveness at all. Once the line's been crossed.
That's why there will be no more Oasis, I guess.
I'm very stubborn, and once the line has been crossed, I'm afraid I can't allow myself to go back.
But I guess if your kid has a tantrum, you can forgive your kid.
My children?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't speak to my children, no.
How will you make sure that your kids stay friends? That the same thing won't happen again? The sins of the fathers.
Well, my children's life and atmosphere at home is vastly different from the one that I grew up in. Ours was a very dysfunctional family who, when you think about it now, nobody ever really got on. And because, you know, we grew up in the 70s and there was a lot of poverty and unemployment, blah, blah, and all that. But my children's home life is very different. They've got 2 loving parents and, you know, they love their stepsister and it's a different atmosphere, and you are a product of your environment, you know. And if you're growing up in a house full of arguments, you will eventually become like we became, you know. And if you grow up in a loving environment, you know, where people love and respect each other, you will eventually grow up to be like that, you know what I mean? And then, as a parent, you cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah. I mean, you're both family people, with big families. Can it sometimes be too much? I mean, the Johnsons are quite many.
There are too many. Many would say.
Well, I mean, family politics can be exhausting.
I don't know. Has Liam got kids?
Yes, many.
How many?
Officially. Officially 4, I believe.
So, and your kids are a bit younger, possibly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But aren't there occasions when you all have to be together, like funerals or weddings, and then how does that work?
Nobody has yet to get married yet, so the situation has never arisen. But of course, and it's going to be very interesting.
Because that generation, they don't see each other either.
They do, yeah. My daughter is 20, will see, and has gone to the same school as some of Liam's kids.
When do you work, apart from touring? When do you write music?
Every day. I never really switch off from music. It's because I don't have any hobbies. I don't. My hobby growing up was playing the guitar, and I've been lucky enough to now it's a profession. You know, I don't drive, so I've not got a fleet of cars I can just go and drive around Europe or anything. Do you know what I mean?
You don't drive, or you don't have a license to drive?
I've never had a driving lesson. It's never interested me. ever. And
did you buy a lot of cars?
I did buy some cars, yeah. It was kind of the dumb thing, didn't it? You know what I mean? I had when we first got paid properly, I always wanted a Jaguar Mark II, and I found this company that found old cars and put modern engines in them and all that. And I went to see this place. It took me 3 hours to get there in a car, and they found this thing, and it was the year I was born, in 1967, and it said it will take 3 years to build. And I was like, great, I'll easily have passed my test in 3 years. And 3 years later, I was in my house in St John's Wood, and a lorry pulled up with a car on the back of it in the street, and I was going, oh, look at that car's amazing. Get me one of those cars, one. And a guy walked in with a clipboard. Said, is Mr. Gallagher there? I was like, it is I. And, this is your car. And I'd forgotten that I'd bought and paid for it. And I've still got it. It's in a garage somewhere, and I think it's got like 12 miles on the clock. Oh, so I'm going to kind of leave it for my...
Good news for kids.
Well, I'm going to leave it for my kids to fight over.
Noel, it's fantastic to have you on the show. Thank you so much. We're going to have another guest on. Thank you very much.